The sky above New York City turned dark at exactly 3:47 in the afternoon. It was not a cloud. It was not a storm. It was something that no human had ever seen before. A massive ship, black as night and bigger than any building on Earth, slowly moved through the clouds. The sun disappeared behind its shadow. Doctor was sitting in her small office at the university when she heard the screams outside. She walked to her window and looked up. Her coffee cup fell from her hand and broke on the floor. She did not notice. Her eyes were fixed on the sky. The ship was enormous. It stretched from one end of the horizon to the other. Smaller ships began to drop from its belly like metal rain. They flew in perfect formation, thousands of them, spreading across the sky in every direction. Was a historian. She had spent her entire life studying the wars of the past. She had read about every battle, every conflict, every moment when humans had faced impossible enemies. But this was different. This was not in any book she had ever read. Her phone rang. She picked it up with shaking hands. "Doctor," the voice said. It was General, a man she had worked with many times before. His voice was calm but serious. "We need you at the United Nations building. Now." "What is happening?" she asked, but she already knew the answer. "First contact," General said. "They want to talk." Grabbed her old leather bag. Inside it was a book. It was very old with a brown cover and yellow pages. It was a history of human warfare, passed down through her family for generations. She did not know why she grabbed it. Something in her heart told her to bring it. The streets were chaos. People were running, crying, praying. Cars were stopped in the middle of the road. Everyone was looking up at the sky. Pushed through the crowd until she reached a military vehicle waiting for her. The ride to the United Nations was fast. Soldiers cleared the roads. When arrived, she saw hundreds of world leaders, scientists, and military officers all gathered in the main hall. Everyone was talking at once. Fear filled the room like smoke. General found her in the crowd. He was a tall man with gray hair and a face that had seen many difficult things. But today, even he looked worried. "They landed 1 hour ago," he told her. "One of their smaller ships. It is on the lawn outside. They said they want to speak with our leaders." "Why am I here?" asked. "I am just a historian." General looked at her with tired eyes. "Because I have a feeling we will need someone who understands what humans are capable of, someone who knows our past." Before could respond, the doors of the United Nations Hall opened, and then she saw them. The aliens were tall, much taller than any human. They had gray skin that looked like stone and eyes that glowed soft blue. They wore armor that seemed to be made of light itself. They moved with confidence, like they owned everything they saw. There were 5 of them. The one in front was clearly the leader. He walked to the center of the room and looked at the humans around him like they were insects. "I am ambassador of the Empire," he said. His voice was deep and cold. He spoke perfect English, which surprised everyone. "We have watched your planet for many years. We have studied your people. We have made our decision." The room was silent. No one dared to speak. Continued. "Earth will become part of the Empire. You will serve us. Your resources will belong to us. Your people will work for us. This is not a request. This is a fact." A murmur spread through the crowd. Some leaders stood up in anger. Others sat frozen in fear. The President of the United States stepped forward. "You cannot simply take our planet. We will not allow it." Looked at him and laughed. It was a terrible sound, empty of any warmth. "Allow? You do not have a choice. We have scanned your entire world. You have no orbital defense systems. Your weapons are primitive. Your military forces are scattered and weak. You have no ships, no shields, no way to fight us." He waved his hand and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed Earth from space. Red dots appeared all over the planet, marking military bases, nuclear weapons, naval ships. "This is everything you have," said. "We counted your soldiers, we measured your bombs, we calculated your chances." He paused and smiled. It was not a kind smile. "You have no chance. Earth is defenseless." The room fell into despair. Some leaders began to cry. Others argued with each other, blaming and shouting. The world was falling apart in front of his eyes. But did not cry. She did not shout. She stood very still, her hand resting on the old book in her bag. She thought about all the stories inside it. Stories of humans who had faced impossible enemies. Stories of people who had been told they could not win. Stories of war. General noticed her expression. "What are you thinking?" he whispered. Looked at the aliens, then back at the general. "They counted our weapons," she said slowly. "They measured our technology, but they made a mistake." "What mistake?" Pulled the book from her bag and held it against her chest. "They did not read our history. They do not know what we are." Was still speaking, listing the demands of the empire. He talked about how humans would be divided into workers, how Earth's water and minerals would be shipped to other worlds, how resistance would be punished with death. But was not listening anymore. She was waiting for the right moment. Because she knew something that the aliens did not know. Humans were not just the sum of their weapons. Humans were not just their technology or their numbers. Humans were something else entirely. They were survivors, they were fighters, they were the children of 1,000 wars. And they had never, not once in their entire history, gone quietly into the night. Ambassador finished speaking and crossed his arms. He looked very pleased with himself. The hologram of Earth still floated in the air, covered in red dots that showed every weapon humanity possessed. "You have 24 hours to accept our terms," said. "After that, we will begin the occupation by force. Choose wisely." The world leaders looked at each other. Fear was written on every face. The president of France stood up with shaking hands. "Perhaps we can negotiate. Perhaps there is something we can offer." "There is nothing to negotiate," interrupted. "You have nothing we want except your planet and your labor. The decision has already been made." General clenched his fists. He had fought in 3 wars during his lifetime. He had never surrendered, but this was not a war he knew how to fight. How could anyone fight against ships that could destroy cities from space? Then from the back of the room a voice spoke. It was soft but clear. "You made a mistake." Everyone turned to look. Doctor was walking forward, her old leather book held in both hands. She was a small woman, not tall or strong. She wore simple clothes and her hair was tied back. She did not look like a soldier or a leader. Looked at her with amusement. "And who are you?" "My name is, I am a historian." Laughed again. "A historian, someone who studies old stories. What could you possibly have to say?" Stopped walking when she was 10 steps away from the alien ambassador. She was not afraid. Or perhaps she was afraid, but she did not show it. "You scanned our planet," she said. "You counted our weapons. You measured our armies. You calculated our chances. And you decided we were defenseless." "That is correct," said. "The facts are clear." "No," said. "The facts are not clear, because you only looked at what we have now. You did not look at what we have been. You did not look at what we are capable of becoming." Tilted his head. His glowing blue eyes studied her like she was a strange insect. "Explain." Held up her book. "This is a history of human warfare. It is very old. My grandmother gave it to my mother, and my mother gave it to me. Inside these pages are stories of every war humans have ever fought." "War," said the word like it was unfamiliar. "We know of war. All species fight. It is primitive behavior that civilized empires have moved beyond." "Have you?" asked. "Tell me, ambassador, how many wars has the empire fought?" Paused. "We have had 17 military conflicts in our history. We won all of them quickly and efficiently." 17, repeated. She opened her book and flipped through the pages. "Interesting. In the last 100 years alone, humans have fought over 200 wars. Some lasted days, some lasted decades, some are still being fought right now." A murmur went through the room. Even the other aliens looked surprised. Frowned, that is. Inefficient. Why would any species fight so much among themselves? Because that is who we are, said. We fight over land. We fight over resources. We fight over ideas. We fight over things that other species would consider meaningless. We fight because fighting is in our blood. She turned to another page in her book. But here is the important part, Ambassador. We do not just fight, we survive, we adapt, we learn. Every war teaches us something new. Every defeat makes us stronger. Every victory makes us hungry for more. Smile was fatting. Words, these are just words. Your history does not change the reality of your situation. You are outmatched in every way. Are we? Looked around the room at the frightened leaders. Then she looked back at, let me ask you something. Your scans showed our nuclear weapons, correct? Yes, approximately 15,000 warheads, primitive technology. Our shields can block them easily. And you know why we built those weapons? Shrugged, to threaten each other, presumably. Yes, said, to threaten each other. We built weapons that could destroy our entire planet, and we pointed them at ourselves. We lived for decades knowing that at any moment we could all die, and we did this willingly. She stepped closer too. Her voice became harder. What kind of species does that, Ambassador? What kind of people builds weapons of total destruction and then lives with them every single day? Did not answer. I will tell you, continued. A species that is not afraid to die. A species that would rather destroy everything than surrender. A species that you cannot threaten because we have already threatened ourselves with worse. The room was completely silent now. Even the other aliens were watching with different expressions. Confusion, doubt, perhaps even a little fear. General stood up and walked to stand beside. She is telling the truth, he said. I have fought in wars where we were outnumbered 10-1. We did not surrender. We fought until there was nothing left to fight with. And then we fought with our hands. Another leader stood up, then another. One by one they rose from their seats. You measured our weapons, said the Prime Minister of Japan, but you did not measure our spirit. You counted our soldiers, said the President of Brazil, but you did not count our civilians. Every man, woman, and child on this planet will fight you. You calculated our chances, said a general from Russia, but you forgot that humans do not care about chances. We have won battles we should have lost 1,000 times over. Looked around the room. For the first time his confidence seemed to waver. This is foolish, he said, but his voice was less certain now. You cannot defeat us with determination alone. We have technology you cannot imagine. Smiled. It was a cold smile, the smile of someone who knew something others did not. You think this is about defeating you, she said. No, Ambassador. This is about making you pay a price so high that victory becomes meaningless. We may not be able to destroy your fleet, but we can make sure that taking Earth costs you more than Earth is worth. She opened her book again and held it out toward. This book contains the stories of people who did exactly that. People who burned their own cities rather than let enemies take them. People who poisoned their own wells, destroyed their own crops, killed their own livestock. People who turned their entire world into a weapon. Stared at the book like it was something dangerous. You want Earth, said softly. You can have it, but when you are done fighting us there will be nothing left. No resources, no labor, no water, no air that is safe to breathe. Just ash and bones and the memory of a species that refused to kneel. She closed the book with a soft sound that echoed through the silent hall. So yes, Ambassador, calculate our chances again, and this time include the fact that humans would rather die standing than live on their knees. Said nothing. For the first time since he had arrived, he looked uncertain. And in that moment, something changed. The fear in the room began to transform into something else, something older and more powerful. Hope. Ambassador raised his hand and his 4 guards stepped forward. The tension in the room grew thick. For a moment, It seemed like violence would erupt. "You speak brave words," said slowly. "But words are easy. Show me proof. Show me these stories you speak of." Nodded, she walked to the center of the room where the hologram of Earth still floated. She gestured to a technician nearby. "Can you connect my book to the display system?" The technician looked confused, but General nodded his approval. Within minutes, they had set up a scanner that could project images from his old book onto the hologram display. Opened the book to its first chapter and began. "Long ago in my country, there was a kingdom called. It was a small kingdom, surrounded by enemies much larger and stronger than itself." The hologram changed. It showed ancient maps, paintings of warriors in traditional armor, and fortress walls built on mountain peaks. One day, a massive empire from the west decided to conquer. They sent an army of over 1 million soldiers. 1 million, the largest army the world had ever seen. Even looked interested now, and what happened? Had only 30,000 defenders, continued. The numbers were impossible. Every calculation said they would lose, but they did not surrender. They did not run. Instead, they fought. She turned the page. They used the mountains, they used the rivers, they used the winter, they attacked supply lines, they poisoned wells, they burned bridges, they made the enemy pay for every single step. The hologram showed battle scenes, retreating armies, soldiers dying in snow and mud. The 1 million-man army was destroyed, not by a larger force but by determination, by refusing to accept defeat. Was silent. Turned more pages. "But that is just one story. Let me tell you another." The hologram changed again. Now it showed the sea and ships made of wood and iron. "Hundreds of years later, my country faced another invasion. A powerful neighbor sent hundreds of warships to conquer us. They had more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. Once again, the numbers said we would lose." "Once again you won?" asked. His tone was less mocking now. "We had a man named Admiral," said. "He was brilliant. He built ships covered in iron spikes and metal plates, ships that could not be boarded, ships that could ram through enemy vessels like knives through paper." She showed images of the turtle ships, as they were called, strange and beautiful machines of war. In one battle, Admiral faced over 300 enemy ships with only 13 of his own, 13 against 300. "Impossible," one of the alien guards muttered. "He won," said simply. "He used the tides, the currents, the geography of the sea itself as weapons. He destroyed over 100 enemy ships without losing a single one of his own." She closed that section and opened another. "But these are old stories. Let me tell you newer ones." The hologram shifted to show images that were more recent. Black and white photographs, soldiers in uniforms, trenches dug into muddy earth. 100 years ago, humans fought what we called a world war. It was the largest conflict in our history up to that point. Millions of soldiers faced each other across fields of mud and wire. The images were terrible. Bodies piled in trenches, cities reduced to rubble, young men with old eyes staring at cameras. They invented new ways to kill each other, poison gas that burned lungs, machines that could fire hundreds of bullets per minute, bombs dropped from the sky, and still they fought. For 4 years they fought over pieces of land no bigger than this room. Looked disturbed. Why, what could be worth such destruction? "Nothing," said, "and everything. They fought because they were told to fight. They fought because they believed in their countries. They fought because giving up was worse than dying. That is what humans are." She turned more pages. Then came another war, even bigger, even worse. The hologram showed planes dropping bombs, mushroom clouds rising over cities, soldiers storming beaches under walls of gunfire. "In this war we killed over 70 million of our own kind. 70 million. We burned entire cities to the ground. We invented weapons that could destroy the world itself. And when it was over, we did not stop. We kept building. We kept preparing, because we knew another war could come at any moment. General stepped forward. "I can continue from here," he said. "I fought in wars myself." He took a device from his pocket and connected it to the display. New images appeared, more recent, more familiar. "These are the wars of my lifetime," the general said. "Wars in jungles where we fought enemies we could not see. Wars in deserts where the heat killed as many as the bullets. Wars in mountains where the cold was our greatest enemy." He showed images of soldiers carrying wounded friends, of helicopters landing under fire, of ordinary people taking up weapons to defend their homes. "In one war, we fought against an enemy with more soldiers, more tanks, more planes. They pushed us to the very edge of our land. They thought we were finished." The general's voice grew hard. "We were not finished. We fought back. We took back every inch of land they had stolen. We did not stop until we reached their own borders." Watched the images with growing unease. His guards shifted nervously. "And these are not even the worst stories," said, taking over again. "These are not the stories of what happens when humans are truly desperate." She opened to a different section of the book. "Let me tell you about sieges, about cities that refused to fall even when everyone inside was starving. People who ate leather, who ate wood, who ate things I will not name, rather than surrender." The hologram showed gaunt faces, hollow eyes but fierce determination. "Let me tell you about resistance, about ordinary people, farmers and teachers and shopkeepers who picked up guns and fought against armies that occupied their land. They hid in forests. They struck at night. They made the enemy afraid to sleep." More images, partisans in mountains, secret meetings in basements, explosions on railroad tracks. "Let me tell you about last stands, about soldiers who knew they would die and fought anyway, who held positions for hours, for days, for weeks, against impossible numbers, not because they thought they would win, but because giving up was not in their nature." Closed the book slowly. The hologram faded away, leaving only the dim light of the United Nations Hall. "You asked for proof," she said to. "There it is. Thousands of years of proof. Millions of stories of humans who faced impossible enemies and refused to surrender." She looked directly into his glowing blue eyes. "You think we are defenseless because you counted our weapons, but our weapons are not what make us dangerous. Our history is what makes us dangerous. Our willingness to suffer, to sacrifice, to destroy everything including ourselves rather than kneel to an enemy." Was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, smaller. "These stories, they are all true." "Every single one," General said. "And there are thousands more we did not show you." "We are not a peaceful species," added. "We never have been, we fight. It is what we do. It is who we are, and if you try to take our world, we will show you exactly what that means." The alien ambassador looked at his guards. Something passed between them, a silent conversation that humans could not understand, but could see it in their eyes. For the first time, they were beginning to understand what they had found on this small blue planet. Not a defenseless world. A world of warriors. The United Nations Hall was silent after finished her history lesson. Ambassador stood very still, his glowing eyes fixed on the old book in her hands. His guards had stopped looking confident. Now they looked nervous. But was not ready to give up. He straightened his back and spoke again. "Impressive stories," he said. "Your species has a violent past. I admit, we did not expect this. But stories of the past do not change the present. Your history cannot stop our weapons." General smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You think we only showed you our history to scare you with old tales?" he asked. "No, Ambassador. We showed you our history to explain what comes next." He walked to the hologram controls and began pressing buttons. "You scanned our planet from orbit. You found our military bases, our nuclear weapons, our armies. You thought you found everything." A new image appeared in the hologram. It was Earth again, but this time it looked different. Green dots began to appear alongside the red ones, hundreds of them, then thousands. Frowned, what is this? Our scanners did not detect these locations. Of course they did not, General said, because we did not want you to find them. He zoomed in on one green dot. It was a mountain in a remote area. The hologram showed the surface, covered in trees and rocks, nothing special. Then the image changed to show what was underneath. Tunnels. Hundreds of tunnels dug deep into the mountain. Inside them were weapons, vehicles, supplies, and thousands of soldiers. We call these bunkers, General explained. Hidden military bases built underground, protected by hundreds of meters of rock and steel, invisible to scans from space. He switched to another green dot. This one was under a city. The hologram showed normal buildings on the surface, but beneath them was a maze of chambers and passages. Every major city on Earth has something like this, the general continued. Some we built during our Cold War when we pointed nuclear weapons at each other. Some we built more recently when we began to wonder if we were alone in the universe. His expression changed. Doubt crept into his eyes. You prepared for this, he asked. You prepared for an alien invasion. We prepared for everything, said. That is what humans do. We imagine every possible danger and build defenses against it. We write stories about alien invasions just so we can think about how to survive them. General switched the hologram to show a list of numbers. Let me give you some facts, Ambassador. Real facts, not the ones your scanners found. He pointed to the first number. You counted our active military forces, about 20 million soldiers worldwide. That is correct. But what your scanners did not count was our reserve forces. People who served in the military and went back to civilian life. People who can be called back to fight at any moment. The number changed. It grew larger, much larger. 100 million trained soldiers, General said. People who know how to use weapons. People who know how to fight. He pointed to the next number. But that is not all. In many countries, every adult civilian is taught basic combat skills. They learn how to shoot, how to survive, how to resist. If we count everyone who could fight, not just trained soldiers. The number grew again. This time it became so large that took a step backward. 2 billion, General said. 2 billion people who would take up weapons against you. 2 billion people who would rather die fighting than live under your rule. One of the alien guards spoke quietly too in their language, raised his hand to silence him. This cannot be true, said. No species arms its entire population. It would be chaos. It is chaos, admitted. We are a chaotic species. We argue, we fight, we disagree about everything. But when an outside threat appears, we stop fighting each other. We turn all of that chaos, all of that violence, all of that anger, outward. General showed more images, factories producing weapons, ships being built, aircraft rolling off assembly lines. Our industrial capacity can increase by a factor of 10 during wartime, he explained. We have done it before. Factories that make cars can make tanks. Factories that make phones can make drones. Every piece of our civilization can be turned into a weapon. He showed one more image. It was a map of Earth with millions of small dots scattered across every continent. And these, he said, are our civilians, regular people, farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. Each one of them is a potential fighter. Each one of them can make weapons, gather information, sabotage your equipment, and make your life miserable in 1,000 small ways. Stared at the map, his face showed something new, fear. Even if you landed your entire army, General said, you would have to fight us in every city, every town, every village, every house. You would never know who was an enemy. The grandmother on the street could have a bomb in her bag. The child playing in the park could be watching your movements and reporting them. The worker fixing your ships could be putting poison in your food. This is madness, whispered. Yes, said, it is. We are a mad species, we know it, we accept it, and we use it. She walked closer to the alien ambassador. You calculated our chances based on a normal war, but there is no such thing as a normal war with humans. We do not follow rules. We do not play fair. We do whatever it takes to win, and if we cannot win, we make sure our enemies lose just as badly. General turned off the hologram. The room returned to normal light, but nothing felt normal anymore. Your scanners found 15,000 nuclear weapons, he said. Did you wonder why we have so many? Did you wonder why we kept building them even after we had enough to destroy our own planet several times over? Did not answer. We kept building them because we wanted to make sure that no matter what happened, we would always have the power to destroy everything, including ourselves, including any enemy that tried to take our world. The general's voice became very quiet, very serious. If your fleet attacks Earth, we will launch every nuclear weapon we have. Not at your ships, at our own planet. We will burn our atmosphere, poison our oceans, crack our own crust. We will turn Earth into a dead rock floating in space. Guards moved closer to their ambassador. They were scared now, truly scared. You will win, General continued. You will destroy our military. You will kill our soldiers. But when you land on our planet to claim your prize, there will be nothing left. No resources, no slaves, no life. Just radiation and ash and the graves of 8 billion people who chose death over surrender. He looked directly into his eyes. Is Earth worth that price, Ambassador? Is our little planet worth losing your entire invasion force for a dead world? Was silent for a very long time. The other aliens whispered among themselves. Their language was strange, full of sounds that humans could not make, but the meaning was clear. They were afraid. Watch them carefully. She could see the change in their body language. The confidence was gone. The arrogance was gone. Now there was only calculation. And calculation, she knew, was something humans understood very well. You have given us much to think about, finally said. His voice was smaller now, weaker. We will discuss this with our commanders. Of course, said politely. Take all the time you need. We have nowhere to go. She smiled, and there was something dangerous in that smile. After all, Ambassador, this is our home, and we will be here long after your empire has turned to dust. Ambassador and his guards left the United Nations Hall in silence. Their steps were slower now, less confident. The doors closed behind them, and for a moment, no one in the room dared to breathe. Then everyone started talking at once. Do you think it worked? Someone asked. They looked scared, another voice said. Did you see their faces? We need to prepare defenses anyway. We cannot trust them to leave. General raised his hand, and the room slowly became quiet. He looked at, who still held her old book against her chest. What do you think? He asked her. Considered the question carefully. She had studied history her entire life. She had seen how leaders reacted to threats, how empires made decisions, how fear could change the course of events. I think they are confused, she said. They came here expecting easy prey. They found something else entirely. Now they must decide if the cost is worth the prize. Outside the building, the alien ship still sat on the lawn. It was smaller than the massive vessel in the sky, but it was still impressive. Strange metals and glowing lights. Technology that humans could not understand. Inside that ship stood before a communication screen. On the screen was a face much older than his. It was the High Commander of the fleet. Report, the High Commander said. Why have you not secured the surrender? Hesitated. He had never hesitated before. In all his years as an ambassador, he had conquered dozens of worlds. None of them had resisted for more than a few hours. None of them had shown him anything like what he had seen today. The humans are different, he said carefully. Different how? Their technology is primitive. Their defenses are weak. Their technology is primitive, agreed. But they are not weak. They are, he searched for the right word, dangerous, more dangerous than we calculated. The High Commander frowned. Explain. Told him everything. The history of human warfare, the hidden bunkers, the billions of potential fighters, the willingness to destroy their own world rather than surrender. When he finished, the High Commander was silent for a long time. This is concerning, the old alien finally said. But it changes nothing. We have conquered species before who refused to surrender. We simply destroyed them. With respect, Commander, this is different. If we attack Earth, they will burn their own planet. We will gain nothing but a dead world. Then we threaten them with something worse than death. Shook his head slowly. I do not think worse exists for them. They have already imagined every possible horror and prepared for it. They have already faced death many times and survived. They are not afraid of us. The High Commander leaned forward. Every species fears something. Ambassador, find what humans fear and use it against them. Thought about the woman with the old book, her calm eyes, her steady voice, her smile when she spoke of turning Earth into a grave. I do not think you understand, Commander. Humans fear many things, death, pain, loss, but their fear does not make them weak. It makes them fight harder. It makes them more dangerous, not less. Then what do you suggest? Was quiet for a moment. Then he said something he had never said before in his entire career. I suggest we leave. The High Commander's eyes went wide. Leave. Abandon a conquest. That has never been done in the history of the Empire. Then perhaps it is time to start, said. Earth is not worth the cost. The humans will fight us for every meter of ground. They will poison their own resources. They will destroy their own infrastructure. And even if we win, we will spend centuries trying to control a population that will never stop resisting. He paused. There are other worlds, easier worlds, worlds that will not cost us half our fleet to conquer. Earth is not worth it. The High Commander sat back in his chair. His old face was troubled. For many long minutes he said nothing. Finally he spoke. Very well, we will. Reconsider our approach. Pull back your landing party. We will observe this world from a distance and gather more information. Bowed his head. Yes, Commander. The screen went dark. Stood alone in his ship, thinking about what had just happened. He had convinced the High Commander to retreat. For the first time in history, the Empire had backed away from a conquest. And all because of a small woman with an old book. Back in the United Nations Hall, the hours passed slowly. World leaders argued about what to do next. Some wanted to attack the alien ship while they had the chance. Others wanted to try negotiating again. The tension was unbearable. Then at exactly midnight, something changed. General received a message from military observers around the world. His face went pale, then confused, then slowly brightened. The fleet, he said, the fleet is moving. Everyone rushed to the windows. Outside, the massive alien ship that had blocked the sun was slowly rising higher into the sky. The smaller ships followed it, moving together like a school of fish. Within minutes, they were gone. The sky was clear again. The stars were visible for the first time since the invasion began. Doctor stood at the window, watching the last alien lights disappear into the darkness of space. She did not cheer like some of the others. She did not cry like others. She just watched. General came to stand beside her. You did it, he said. Your history lesson saved the world. Shook her head. I did not save anything. I just reminded them who we are. She looked down at the book in her hands. The people in this book saved us. All the soldiers who fought. All the civilians who resisted. All the humans who died so that we could survive. She opened the book one last time and looked at the old pages. So many names. So many stories. So much suffering and sacrifice. They thought we were defenseless because we did not have their technology, she said softly. But technology is not what makes a species strong. Spirit is what makes a species strong. The will to fight, the refusal to surrender, the determination to survive no matter what. General nodded. Do you think they will come back? Probably, maybe not but someone. There are many empires out there in the stars. Sooner or later one of them will come. And when they do, closed the book and smiled. It was a tired smile, but there was steel behind it. When they do, we will show them exactly what we showed these ones. We will open our history books. We will tell them our stories. And we will make them understand that Earth is not a world of victims. She looked out at the stars one last time. We are humans. We are survivors. We are fighters. And anyone who comes to our world looking for easy prey will learn the same lesson that they learned today. She turned away from the window and walked toward the exit. We do not lose wars because we are weak. We win wars because we refuse to lose. And that will never change. Not today, not tomorrow, not in 1,000 years. The doors closed behind her. Outside, the sun was beginning to rise. A new day was coming. The first day of humanity's future as a species that had faced the stars and refused to bow. The aliens had said Earth was defenseless. They were wrong.